live. Hello and welcome to the second of 3 town hall forums, question and answer situation where we will be asking questions sent in by you, the audience, the Hoosier voters in this 2024 gubernatorial election. Of course, election day is quickly approaching. The election day's 50 some days out. Tuesday, November 5th, 2024 will be election day. So if you are not registered, please take the time to register. You can do that by going to www.indianavoters.com. That's www.indianavoters.com. You have until 11:59 on Monday, October 7th to do so. My name is Christopher H. Bilbrey, and I am the host of a political commentary show called The Political Spotlight. My co-host, Brandon Rudd, is above me, and we will be asking questions of Mr. Donald Rainwater. He is the Libertarian Candidate running for governor of the state of Indiana. And without further ado, we're going to allow him to start with an opening statement. So, Mr. Rainwater, it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. And I was actually doing a recorded radio interview earlier today where someone made the same slip of the tongue that you just made, so don't feel bad. Others have made that slip of the tongue today as well. Good evening, folks. I would like to start this evening by referring to a quote by Ronald Reagan when he said that the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." And I want to talk about that quote and what it means today. You see, in this gubernatorial election in Indiana, there are 3 candidates, but there are only 2 real opposing viewpoints. Because whether it's Senator Braun or Dr. McCormick, they want bigger government. They want more government intervention and interference in your daily life. They believe that all of the problems in Indiana can be cured or solved by big government, more government spending, more taxation. I, on the other hand, have the viewpoint that most of the problems in the state of Indiana were actually caused by too much government intervention, and therefore you cannot solve a problem that you created. Government, as Reagan once said, is not the solution to the problem. Government is the problem. So this evening, as I'm answering questions that folks have submitted, I would like for you to remember, you have 2 distinct choices on November 5th. More of government telling you how to live your life and taking your money so they can pay to tell you how to live your life, or liberty and freedom, or as Jefferson put it, among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are your choices. And I'm going to ask now, and I'll ask again at the end, I would like your vote on November 5th so that I can fight for you, the individual, in our state government. Thank you.
Very good. Well, I could not have said it better myself. That was fantastic. And I do want to remind everyone watching, whether you're watching live or you're going to be watching on repeat, that this is the second of three. The first town hall that we held was on the 15th of August, and you can watch that by going to the Political Spotlight YouTube channel. We will have a third town hall forum, just the same as this, on Thursday, the 17th of October. I also want to put out there so folks will know there are going to be at least 2 debates that Candidate Rainwater will be involved with, hopefully a third, and they're still fighting that. And I want to take this opportunity before the questions start to tell everyone that there is a banner running down at the bottom of your screen, and it's going to be there entire time, and it's going to be telling you for more information or to donate to the campaign or to get your hands on a Rainwater sign. You can contact the Rainwater team at www.rainwaterforindiana.com. That is Rainwater4 FOR Indiana.com. And I'm going to remind you guys, you can go there to get information. You can go there to get more information on the questions that you'll hear and other key points and policy features. But donating is very important. You need to go there in order to do this. I heard a very intelligent man once say that candidates running on a libertarian platform are a little bit different than the Republicans or the Democrats. We, as voters, don't look at libertarians the same as we do Republicans. We just assume that everyone's getting the big money the same way that the Republicans and Democrats are. They're not. They need your help. Rainwater needs your help, and any little bit can help. So please, please, if you are able and you can do it, please go there and donate. He needs your help. So allow me to say that for you there, Candidate Rainwater. And
absolutely,
we will go straight into the questions. Brandon, I think you're up.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready if you are.
Sure. Our first question is from someone named Brian. He says, I have served honorably for 6 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, both in peacetime and in combat. Many other states already have laws making honorably discharged military veterans tax exempt on state taxes. Would you support recognizing service members' service and sacrifice to this state and country and work for tax exemption for military veterans?
So let me first say, and you said his name was Brian. Yep. Brian, thank you for your service. I was a member of the United States Navy from August of 1982 through April of 1990. And so I also served both in peacetime and in conflict. And whenever somebody asks me about tax exemption for military veterans, I always tell them, first of all, I want to give a tax exemption to all Hoosier citizens. I believe that we can and should eliminate the state income tax for all Hoosiers. I also believe that my property tax plan would eliminate perpetual property taxes, not just for veterans, but for all Hoosiers, so that whether you're a veteran or a senior citizen or somebody right out of college and you buy a house, after 7 years, your property taxes are done. I also want to eliminate the state excise tax on gasoline. A lot of people do not realize that every Hoosier pays 2 separate taxes to the state of Indiana on gasoline. A 7% sales tax, which is currently 20.3 cents per gallon, and a 35-cent sales tax or excise tax. So we're currently paying 55.3 cents per gallon. And I'd like to do away with 35 cents because I don't believe anybody should pay the same government two taxes on the same product. So, Brian, again, thank you for your service. And if it came to my desk, I would definitely sign it while we were fighting to get the income tax eliminated for all Hoosiers. But my goal is to make sure that no Hoosier pays income taxes.
Very good. All right. The second question we have is coming from, we actually had a couple questions that were very similar from a couple different people. So the second question is kind of a combination of questions from Lynn in South Whitley and Russell in Rensselaer. And the question is, we're concerned about wind, solar, carbon capture projects that a lot of Hoosiers are hearing that are trashing rural Indiana. These are their words. Holcomb has sold us out as Hoosiers. Foreign companies continue to buy our farmland and put the farmland under solar and wind and other green energy. What can you do as governor against predatory practices by these wind and solar companies being pushed by state and county governments to protect rural homeowners and farmers who are neighbors of properties that have signed wind and solar leases? And what are your thoughts about carbon sequestration? Kind of a big question there, but
yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. A lot of things there all packed into one question. Let me see if I can unpack as much of this as possible.
Sure.
And so let me start with, first of all, I believe that much of the wind and solar activity that is being engaged in is questionable at best. I think that there are a lot of concerns about the infringement on property rights, how these deals are looking good on the surface, but when you look at long-term environmental concerns or other issues, I think we need to take a much closer look at wind and solar, and for that matter, at carbon sequestration. But this is actually a symptom of a bigger problem. And so let me talk about the bigger problem for a moment. I believe that our state government is either through intent or through lack of thought eliminating our family farmers in the state of Indiana. One of the things that we need to do is we need to reduce the regulations on farmers so that they can farm. For example, I had a farmer come to me when I was at the Johnson County Fair, and he said, I had a friend that wanted to do industrial hemp. He went through all of the licensing and all of the application process and paid all the fees and grew the crop. And in the end, he was told he had to convert the crop to hemp oil in order to sell it. And it was just too much for him. Yeah. He ended up taking a loss on the crop because of all of the state regulations. And those regulations aren't there for what's best for Hoosier citizens. Those regulations are there to create barriers to entry so that large corporate entities can benefit from industrial hemp without the competition of the family farmer. And we see this over and over and over again. And if we want to reduce the number of family farmers who are leasing their land for wind and solar, we need to get our government under control and make sure that the family farmer can farm their land. This is first and foremost should be our priority. Now, I do strongly believe that if we can create wind, solar, I being in the Navy, I'm a big proponent of nuclear energy. I believe that if we can have aircraft carriers and fleet ballistic missile submarines, that flew off my tongue when I was younger, folks. I'm sorry. But if we can use nuclear power to power naval vessels safely, and we have for decades, then we can use it. There are like 669 nuclear power plants around the world running safely and cleanly. And so I believe that we need to avail ourselves of every energy opportunity that can be done safely, cleanly, and that is not going to erode people's property values or create a negative impact on their neighbors. Right now, we don't have that. And as the question said, what we have is government pushing this,
Yes,
which usually indicates they know there's a problem and they want to get it in before people find out.
yes.
So that to me is indicative of a potential issue.
Well, I just want to take a moment and just tell you that for the citizens of Delaware County listening to you this evening and will be listening in the future, you definitely have made a lot of people in Delaware County happy with that answer. So I very much appreciate that answer. And there was a lot packed into that, and I very much appreciate you doing what you could with that. So
Absolutely.
I think Brandon is next up.
Yep. So you're too good. You answered question number 3 during question number 1. The original question was there plan for gas and property taxes? But we're quick here. So the question is now, what are your thoughts, or have you heard of a plan that has been suggested by certain members of the Indiana General Assembly that would replace property taxes with like a consumption tax on services? Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, I do have an opinion on that. My opinion is that our state and local governments are addicted to spending other people's money. And if you've ever been around somebody who was addicted, whether it be caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, narcotics, they will tell you whatever they have to in order to get you to help them get what they're addicted to.
Yes.
And local governments and state government will come up with any scheme, and I use that word with intent, any scheme possible so that they can keep their addiction going. And so I oppose J.D. Prescott's plan. Maybe I wasn't supposed to use his name, but I'm gonna. because there is no need to replace the revenue until government proves that they need the revenue. I will once again say, Calvin Coolidge said that if you collect more taxes than you need to operate, it's legalized robbery. And that was a president of the United States. And even though my Republican opponent, Senator Braun, says that the conservative position is you should never spend more than you take in, I say baloney. That is not the conservative position. The conservative position is you should not take in more than you need to do the essential functions of government. Therefore, local governments have been giving 10-year tax abatements, have been creating tax increment financing districts, and skimming money off of property taxes to give to economic redevelopment commissions in their local communities for several decades. And until they can prove, first of all, that the public-private partnership isn't anything more than a crony corporate welfare scheme, I don't want to hear about replacing revenue. I want Hoosier homeowners, and for that matter, Hoosier renters, to see their monthly mortgage and rent payments reduced because property taxes are reduced. And I will once again say, it is not the people's responsibility to replace revenue for the government. It is the government's responsibility to prove how much revenue they need. And $1 more than what they need should not be collected. If it is collected, it should be returned to the people. I guarantee you that every Hoosier household in this state needs a rainy day fund more than our government does.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Yeah, that was a great question. Great answer.
Wonderful question. Whoever came up with that one, that was great.
That was amazing. All right.
That wasn't Bilberry's question, was it?
No, it wasn't mine.
Okay.
No, was not mine. It was. It says on the screen someone named Brandon. So I don't know who that was.
We'll never know.
Moving on from there, this is a big question and very important, very timely. And I will tell you, this came in on the system that has been set up to ask questions, and we've been asked this since the first one. I don't know why we didn't ask this question the first time, but as a Libertarian candidate here in the state of Indiana, where do you stand on medical cannabis, on cannabis as a whole? Will you make it legal for small amounts under an ounce, or various thoughts there? What are your thoughts there as a whole? I suffer, not me, this person who wrote this, Robert in South Bend. I suffer from chronic pain and want to get away from having to take RX medications, prescription medications like oxycodone and other opiates. So what are your thoughts on cannabis?
It's interesting that we're answering this question today, since Dr. McCormick changed course and previously had said she would consider medical cannabis. Now she's all in on all forms of cannabis. Strangely enough, I have said since before 2020 that I believe that all forms of cannabis need to be decriminalized and legalized in the state of Indiana. But let me first of all deal with the question as it was asked. I believe that it is immoral and unethical for the state of Indiana to allow a manufactured addictive opioid to be prescribed by doctors who are not allowed to prescribe medical cannabis.
Yeah.
And you may not like recreational use, but if you think it's okay for a doctor to prescribe oxycodone or fentanyl, and by the way, just to be clear, doctors prescribe fentanyl.
Yes.
So if you think it's okay, Vicodin, Lortab, whatever name they slap on it, whichever pharmaceutical company manufactured it, if you think that that is okay for a doctor to prescribe, then I would love to hear a logical explanation as to why we don't allow medical cannabis in the state of Indiana,
Yes.
because I can't find one. I also believe that, well, I can tell you that as governor of the state of Indiana, I will work to expunge the records of any Hoosier who has been convicted of a cannabis related offense that does not involve an act of violence.
Wow.
Now, if there's violence involved, that's different. But if you were pulled over in an automobile or in some other situation, you were found to have cannabis on your person or in your vehicle or in your home, and you were arrested and convicted, that should be expunged. No one should have to go the rest of their life with that cloud hanging over their head. Because here again, the simple possession of nicotine is not illegal. The simple possession of alcohol, whether it be bourbon or vodka or scotch or tequila or beer or wine, those things, the simple possession of that is not illegal.
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, the consumption of it is not illegal. Now, driving under the influence is illegal. Driving under the influence of a prescription drug is illegal. So the argument that, well, you can't tell whether somebody is impaired by cannabis when they're driving, I call foul. Because if the police can tell that you're inhibited while driving and you're on prescription drugs, then they can tell that you're inhibited by cannabis.
Yeah, there's no question.
So I reject the idea that cannabis is any more dangerous than alcohol or prescription drugs. And as far as I'm concerned, here again, from a recreational standpoint, we let adults decide if they want to drink alcohol. We let adults decide. We know for a fact that tobacco can cause cancer, but we still allow it to be sold and consumed in the state of Indiana. Now, we have some rules. And as a libertarian, some of the rules I agree with, some of them I don't. But we have rules. And if we can set rules around tobacco use, then we can set rules around cannabis use. I just can't find any argument against cannabis, medical or recreational, other than I don't like it. And unfortunately, as a libertarian, I don't believe you shouldn't do it because I don't like it is a valid reason to pass a law.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Our next question is from Brian in Huntington. I like this question. Indiana's local governments lack the transparency of other states. We're lucky to get one-page agendas, no meeting packets. Do you agree that there should be a statute that requires government meeting packets to be posted online and a copy to be available for public inspection in the meeting room?
So earlier, the producer put up a private note here that said Donald is hitting it hard.
Not so
Kate,
private note.
You ain't seen nothing yet, because my answer to this might ruffle some feathers. Folks, if your local government isn't transparent enough, you need to vote those people out and vote people in who will be.
Yes.
This is something it blows my mind. And let me tell you why. I hear constantly, I've heard for the last 4 years, I'm not going to vote because I can't trust the elections. And until they fix the elections, I'm not voting. Guess what, folks? If you let the same people stay in office, they're never going to fix crap. Okay? You've got to decide to make a change. I use this phrase a lot, and boy, my wife hates it. Bless her heart. I don't know how she puts up with me sometimes. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. And ladies and gentlemen, let me make this very clear. If you don't like what your government is doing, local, county, state, federal, stop voting for the same tired people who are going to, and here's the thing. We have become self-conditioned to maintain our misery. And by that, I say that, but what I mean is this. We have a Republican supermajority in this state. And I'll bet whoever asked this question has a Republican supermajority in their local government. And if you keep putting Republicans who are told by the Republican Party what they will do and what they won't do when they're in office, if you keep putting them in office, you're going to keep getting the stuff you don't like. Now, I'm not advocating for voting for Democrats. I'm advocating for voting for new people, libertarians, independent candidates. As a matter of fact, if you don't like what's going on in your local government, run for office. That's what I did. I don't like what's going on, so I run for office. Now, with that being said, we need better ethics laws in this state. Our government ethic laws are a joke. They don't exist. And here again, if you let the inmates write the rules to the prison, there won't be any inmates because they'll be out doing whatever they want to do. And that's exactly what we've got with government today. Why are the election laws the way they are? Because we have a two-party system, and those two parties have control, and they're not going to change anything as long as it benefits them to keep it the way it is. Why does your town council or city council not publish an agenda before a city council meeting? Because they don't have to. What are you going to do about it? Let me just for a minute say what they're thinking. You don't like it? What are you going to do about it?
Yep.
So, folks, I hope you understand. I am running to disrupt the status quo. There is no better way to disrupt the status quo of state government than to elect a libertarian governor who is not beholden to any special interest group. No state teachers association, no corporate group, not the IEDC, none of them. And by the way, before I forget, I pledge today that if I am elected governor, when I am elected governor of the state of Indiana, I will not take any trips overseas funded by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation or taxpayer money. If I go overseas, it'll be to take my family on vacation on my own dime.
Very good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And folks, I'm just being honest with you. I think you deserve a governor, at least a candidate for governor who is honest about what's going on in state government and what we have to do to fix it. And I can tell you, if I'm governor of the state of Indiana, things will be different. We will get things done, or I will be on television explaining to you in detail, here's what I'm trying to get done for you. Here are the people who agree with me. Here are the people who are fighting against me. If you want this done in 2026, you need to get these people out of office and elect people that will work with me. I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Martian, it doesn't matter. As long as they are willing to do what's right for the citizens of the state of Indiana.
Absolutely. I was just explaining that last night. I very much agree with that wholeheartedly. Very good. Yeah, that was a good question and another great answer. All right. Let's see. Moving on. All right. This is a question from Anthony in Cloverdale, and it's a pretty easy question, but kind of goes in two different directions. So I don't have any more than this, but we'll ask what he asked. What is your stance, I assume as a libertarian candidate for governor, on the Second Amendment, and then hyphen, and does your idea of freedom of religion include Christianity? So kind of covering two different areas there, but take it away.
So first of all, let me say that my stance on the Second Amendment is really pretty simple. I believe that the phrase "shall not be infringed" is literal.
Yeah.
Shall not be infringed. Not shall not be infringed unless you have a medical cannabis card, or shall not be infringed as long as you don't own an automatic weapon, or shall not be infringed as long as you pass our background check. I believe the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed, period. I do not support, and I will say I oppose red flag laws in their current wording, because frankly, the government at any time can say, we heard you were a member of that Libertarian Party over there, and we believe that all you libertarians are mentally ill, and so we're going to take your guns until you can prove you're not. And that's not shall be infringed.
Yeah.
Or that's not shall not be infringed. Pardon me. So I am I've read the phrase, we have the Second Amendment so that we can keep the other freedoms. I don't care how you slice it. The reason that we are still somewhat free in this country, and I believe we're not as free as we think we are, but the Second Amendment is what keeps us from having a government just run roughshod over us.
Absolutely.
The Second Amendment isn't about hunting, and it's not really about personal protection in your home either. They wrote the Second Amendment to make sure that the citizens could protect themselves against an out of control government. Now, as far as freedom of religion, I believe that the way that the First Amendment is written is that the government shall not make any religion the state religion, nor will the government get in the way of you exercising your religious beliefs freely. So I'm not sure when somebody says, does your idea of freedom of religion include Christianity? Being a Christian man, I would say I believe it does. I believe it that the idea of freedom of religion includes all religions, whether I agree with them or not. And I do not believe that it is appropriate in any way, shape, or form to treat anyone differently because they have a different religion or a different national origin, or a different skin color or a different gender than I have. So I'm not. I guess I'm curious as to why the question was worded this way. I believe that freedom of religion is freedom from government telling you what religion you can practice. That is what I believe the founders intended, based on the fact that the Church of England was an oppressive religious organization that was controlled, run, and dictated by the crown, by the government. I want to say it was George. I don't remember which king it was, but he got in a disagreement with the Pope and decided there will be no more Catholic Church in England. We're going to call it the Church of England. And that the First Amendment ensures that our government will not dictate a national religion. And so, as a Christian man, I believe that freedom of religion applies to Christianity. It applies to Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism. It doesn't matter what the religion is. You are free to exercise your religious beliefs as long as you don't infringe on the rights of others. So, in other words, I can't take Chris Bilbrey out and sacrificing a religious act.
That's probably good. Or maybe that would have happened. Hey, thank God we've got that Second Amendment to stop that from happening. I guess. Very good. All right. I think next up Brandon, there you go.
Yeah, so this is a fun order for this question follow-up. This is from Alex in Bloomington. Alex asks, with the recent school shootings in Georgia and Nebraska, What do you think Indiana should do to ensure that our state does not suffer the same types of tragedy?
Oh boy.
That's a big one.
So, Kate, you're going to like this too, because I'm going to hit hard again. I believe that it is inexcusable that our public schools are our least secure government buildings. If you go down to 200 West Washington Street and you try to enter, there are metal detectors. Well, there's metal detectors, locked doors, guards. You cannot get in the building with a concealed weapon you're not supposed to have. You can't.
Yeah.
But you can get into a school that way, and I don't understand that. Our children are our most important, most valuable natural resource in the state of Indiana. And we do not secure, I believe the correct term is harden. We need to harden our school buildings.
Yes.
We need to ensure that there is deterrent from entering a school with a firearm to do harm to other human beings. There's no excuse for why we haven't done this, other than people who would prefer to have a reason to say, we need to do something about this. And the only answer they have is we need to take everybody's guns. And folks, I'm going to tell you, you've heard it from other people, but let me be very clear. Criminals don't care what the law is. They're criminals because they don't follow the law. So if you take guns from law-abiding citizens, you're not going to stop gun violence. That is a complete and utter valueless argument. The only way you keep your children safe in schools is to make sure that we make our schools as secure as our banks and our other government buildings.
Yeah.
All right.
That is very well said. And you won over an 11-year-old that is watching.
I saw that.
That is always very good. Starting them young, you know. All right. So that all right, that brings us to our next question, which is a question from Dory from Madison County. People have reported, it's no secret that people have reported issues with the DCS. They have self-reported a lot of issues over the last several years. They've had budget issues and a lot of other issues with a shortage in case workers, and they've had massive backlogs. As governor, as candidate running for the office, and as governor, when you win, what will your stance be on DCS? What can be done to protect both children and parents? Because as we all know, there are times that the DCS can be used in ways that it shouldn't be used to hurt parents. So what can be done with this, and what do you have to say on this topic?
Well, we don't have enough time between now and the end of the year to discuss all the problems that exist with the Division of Child Services. There is a long, documented list of issues. And this goes right back to what I was talking about in the very beginning of this town hall. The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Part of the reason why that is so terrifying is because people in bureaucratic positions in government think they're helping and they overstep their bounds. They do things that are inappropriate for the position that they are supposed to be filling. The caseload in DCS in many respects is backlogged because the processes in DCS are antiquated, obsolete, and we need an overhaul of how things are done. And that's not just in DCS, that's in all of FSSA. It's in the BMV, it's in NDOT, it's in the Department of Education. It's every one of the over 50 agencies in state government are operating inefficiently. There are people who are buried in the bureaucracy who really don't belong in the jobs that they're in because they don't understand what their role is supposed to be. And believe me, my stance on DCS is it needs significant reform. We need to do I'll use a really bad government and business term. We need to do a deep dive into figuring out how we streamline and fix all of the problems with agencies like DCS. It's a mess.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very good. Well, because of the time where this program ends at 8:00, that's going to bring us to the end of the questions. I know we have some folks that are bringing in other questions. Please continue adding your questions to the stream. We will collect them. We will put them in with other questions for next time. But I do want to just take a real quick time. We're going to offer you a closing statement. But before we get there, I do want to ask you, because before we will meet for the third and final one of these town hall forums, you will have a chance to be on a debate or possibly 2. Could you take just a moment and talk to folks about that? Let them know when and where that'll be and how they can see you and kind
Absolutely.
of what's going on with that.
So the first debate is scheduled for October 2nd. It is on Fox 59, CBS 4, the Nexstar stations here in central Indiana, and it will be on the Nexstar stations all across the state. The issue with that debate is that they have decided, Nexstar down in Texas, has decided that simply being on the ballot is not good enough for them. As many of you know, the first hoop that we had to jump through was raising $100,000. So we raised $103,000 by the deadline. And so we met that criteria. But now they are going to run a poll. That poll, I believe they are running next week. And we have to poll 10% or higher in their poll in order to be included in the debate on October 2nd. Now on October 3rd, Wish TV is hosting a debate here in Central Indiana, and Wish TV called me personally and said, we just want to make sure, Mr. Rainwater, that you're aware that you're on the ballot, you're in our debate.
Good.
The third debate is October 24th, and it is being hosted by the Indiana Debate Commission, and part of their charter is that they always invite all of the candidates that are on the ballot. So I will be part of that debate as well. And so if someone calls you, if you normally don't answer the phone when it's a number you don't know, like that's what I do, I let it go to voicemail. For the next couple of weeks, maybe think about going ahead and answering. And if they want to do a poll, please make sure you tell them I'm voting for Donald Rainwater.
Yes.
And let's make sure we get that over 10%, so that I can stand on the debate stage with Senator Braun and Dr. McCormick 3 times and answer questions and ask questions.
Sure.
Of their answers.
Very good. Well,
and in the meantime, folks, I need you to go to rainwaterforindiana.com and you can request a yard sign. We've already distributed more than 3,000, almost 4,000 yard signs now throughout the state. You can go there and volunteer. You can click the volunteer button. We are going to be asking folks to call registered voters in the state of Indiana, read a script to let them know that I'm on the ballot and that I am that second option. As I said in the beginning, you really have 2 choices: big government, more taxes, more spending, or you can vote for me and help me make Indiana less taxing for all Hoosiers. Because Hoosiers deserve better government, not bigger government. And of course, you can go there and click on those donate buttons. I'll be honest with you, folks. A lot of people don't realize this, but the reason Republicans and Democrats raise hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to run for governor, and I don't, is because they're willing to trade money for access to government. It's quid pro quo, if you know what that is, right? It's you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yeah.
And so if I write you $100,000 check, I know you're going to support what I want you to support and suppress what I want you to suppress.
Absolutely.
Well, they know that Rainwater's not going to do that. I want your support. The more money you donate, the easier it will be for me to get my message out to the 3 million plus voters in the state of Indiana. But you're making an investment in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that's all you're going to get out of me, right? Your donation to me, I'm not going to owe you nothing other than doing the job of governor to the best of my ability to take care of your individual rights. So that's why it's harder for me to raise money.
Yeah.
And I know that the people that I represent don't have a lot of money because the government's taken it from them hand over fist, right? Property taxes, 2 gasoline taxes, the excise tax on vehicles. Good. Yeah. Just got my license plates on my 2 vehicles. Cost several $100s for each one. It's not cheap. And the question is, what do we always ask? We pay all this in taxes and the roads still suck. Why is that?
Yes.
And the answer is because they can take more and more of your money, and they keep paying these construction vendors to drag this out and drag this out and drag this out. It's a perpetual contract. And what are you going to do about it?
Right.
So that's what you got to ask yourself on November 5th. Do I like what I'm getting out of state government? Do I like what I see in more of the same? And if I don't, what am I going to do about it? So what I'm asking you to do is vote for Rainwater on November 5th. Thank you very much, guys.
Absolutely. No problem. We will end by saying a big thank you to Donald Rainwater and his team for having him here and scheduling these. We will have a third town hall forum that will be scheduled for Thursday, the 12th of October. It'll be the same format, same situation as the other two. If you want to listen to the first event, you can hear that by going to our YouTube channel, which is the Political Spotlight. You can see it down there in the corner. This program has been produced and hosted by the Political Spotlight. That, of course, is myself, Christopher H. Bilbrey, my co-host Brandon Rudd, and our producer, Kate Thornburg. We are a political commentary program on 5 nights a week, Sunday through Thursday, that you can catch right here on this same channel at 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be producing a show this evening, and we cover local, state, and national politics and all that goes along with that. So check that out if you're interested. And it's also important to note, as I said before, voters registration is still open. You can register by going to www.indianavoters.com. That's indianavoters.com. You have until 11:59 p.m. on October 7th to register. Very important. It takes under 3 minutes to do so. And it's very important to know that when that deadline ends, early voting begins the day following. So the 2 debates that are coming up in October, where he will be on at the first of the month, and this and the other, and all of these are going to be important for the people who will be voting early. And because the next time we see him, early voting will already be underway. So keep that in mind, and we will look forward to seeing Rainwater back here on the 17th of October. And we will be looking forward to seeing all of you. Please, please share this link out with other Hoosiers. Doesn't matter where they live, as long as they live, work, play, but most importantly, vote in the state of Indiana. They need to see and hear this. And we thank you all very much. Brandon?
Yep. Thank you all very much.
All right. We will see you next time and go from there. You guys have a good evening. God bless. Be safe. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Good evening.